The Ultra Recon Squad, some of my favorite characters from Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, even though there isn't all that much to them. So they all made their debut in the second half of Generation 7, and because of that, they're probably some of the most forgotten characters in the franchise. Now, I don't know if I would also call them underrated, but the concept at the very least is extremely underutilized. I mean, overall in Generation 7, we got a lot of stuff that explored Ultra Space, and with some human-like characters that originated from Ultra Space even having different skin colors, basically making them aliens, why have we basically done nothing with them for 10 years? So now during Alien Week, it seems like the perfect time to take a look back and figure out what made them so special and how they play into the world of Pokemon overall. So Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon were revealed in June of 2017, when we were all really expecting an announcement of a game for the newly released Nintendo Switch. Pokemon threw the theorists a bit of a curveball and made the choice that honestly made sense in retrospect, that is releasing a follow-up to Pokemon Sun and Moon. And while the first trailer really didn't reveal a whole lot or give us a lot of details of what exactly this game would be, over the course of each summer it became increasingly clear that this was an alternate version, still taking place in Alola and with mostly the same plot, but having a few differences here and there. So fans were chomping at the bit for any details of just how different this game would be from the previous ones. Things were relatively normal until the very end of September, when we found out about this really cool looking poster meant to advertise the games. Now this was supposed to be officially revealed at some point, however the internet got a hold of it early because it went up in game stores and people were able to take pictures and post them online. And it seems like a relatively normal poster until you look at the very top and notice these characters who had not been revealed in anything before. Who exactly were these ominous looking characters and what exactly did they have to do with the story? And I tell you, in about that week or so period until we got the actual confirmation of who they are, it really felt like something out of the old Sun and Moon days, even though those were only about a year before that point. What I'm really getting at here is that after the initial speculation of whether these were even real settled down, the first theory is that they were a team of fallers who were trying to get back to their original homeworlds through the Ultra Wormholes. Notably Annabelle, who was a character reintroduced as a faller in regular Sun and Moon, and there was one of the mysterious characters who maybe bared a resemblance to her. The main thing is that people were saying the hair color was sorta similar, but other than that I have no idea how anybody really believed this at all, especially looking at how different their body types are. So for now that was the crazy theory. The more believable one is that they were originally part of the Aether Foundation but then split off for some reason, so the nickname Ultra Aether started making the rounds. But what I find most hilarious about all this speculation is that in the poster these characters are framed in the shadows, so if their skin color looks a little off it would be attributed to that fact. However, on October 5th, when we got a trailer revealing who they actually are, we found out that their skin was actually just like that. It's a weird pale blue. Now this was the Ultra Recon Squad, and this trailer really didn't give us too many more details at all, but we did get the confirmation that they are someone entirely new, and the differently colored skin seemed to explain their outfits. They were obviously going to be traveling through Ultra Wormholes, but now we knew that they weren't going to be traveling from Earth to Ultra Space, they were going to be coming from Ultra Space to Earth. This trailer also brought the reveal of our brand new Ultra Beast, that being Poipole, and we also found out that this was a Pokemon the Ultra Recon Squad would be using. Eventually we got the release of a game and sure they played a part in the story, and I am happy with how they were implemented. So it turns out that the Ultra Recon Squad are from the same world as Necrozma, and that thousands of years ago the people of that world tried to take the light that Necrozma produced, leaving it as a darkened prism that then became hungry for any sort of light. Known as a blinding one, it retaliated and took all of the light from their world. That is where we have Ultra Megalopolis now, a giant city illuminated entirely by artificial light, which also serves as the setting of the amazing climax of Ultra Sun and Moon. So at the very least I love how all of that goes, and Ultra Necrozma itself is one of my favorite legendary Pokemon, but in terms of the actual individual moments where we get to interact with the Ultra Recon Squad throughout the story, sure, they have some fun personality, the way that they greet you is really funny. It is really cool that we get to battle them at all and see another trainer with an Ultra Beast, but honestly I think the battles are one of the weakest parts about them. Now I totally understand what they're doing. The idea is that the people of Air World just don't use Pokemon in battle at all. So when they come to Alola they first use a Furfrou, a Pokemon that they caught there, but from that point on basically the only battles you have against them will be using one Pokemon. And on top of that the characters are split into version exclusives between each game, which I honestly don't really see too much of a reason for. So in Ultra Sun you meet Dulse and Zossie, and in Ultra Moon you meet Soliera and Phyco. Dulse and Zossie are trying to figure out how to stop Necrozma, meanwhile Soliera and Phyco are trying to figure out how to harness Necrozma's power. More or less, they are pretty similar though, but going back to those battles, while I don't think that every character needs to battle, it really is something that makes you remember them. So then with the fact that you only get to battle one of each characters, either Dulse or Soliera, unfortunately that does make the entire group as a whole relatively unmemorable. Again, they play a pretty good role in the story and I definitely haven't forgotten them, but to the average person who hasn't played this game, which is a decent amount of people, they're probably nowhere near the top of anybody's list, which honestly is too bad because I really do love the idea of these characters and especially their designs. They all wear a very similar outfit, which gives them the idea of basically an evil team or some sort of organization, which does make sense because yeah, they literally are a recon squad. They also all have some wacky hair colors which might stand out if this weren't Pokemon where basically every other character has hair like this, but obviously the skin color is the big differentiating factor. Now their skin might look like this because they are basically aliens, not necessarily extraterrestrial but extra-dimensional, and they're operating under the George Lucas rule of painting somebody a different color and then calling them an alien, but their skin color could also be the result of them just living in a world for over 1,000 years with basically no natural sunlight, which is also a really interesting idea. I know that all Ultra Beasts get their own special Ultra Space, but the humans that we see in those Ultra Spaces don't seem very different from the humans on Earth. So when it comes to the Ultra Recon Squad, I guess we really don't know. But beyond those physical differences, they do just look like any other character that we would see in Pokemon. Though I'm wondering what the story with Zossie is. Is she like a child, or is she supposed to be just somebody who is an adult but is really weird and small like an anime trope? Because otherwise, who would let a child on the Ultra Recon Squad? I don't know, man. I'm a really big fan of the concept art because you get to see a bit more of her personalities or just the ways that they interact with other Pokemon that they're meeting. Some stuff that we don't really get to see in the video games all that much. But out of the bunch, I will say that Soliera is definitely my favorite design, like if you agree. And while at least half of these characters did appear in the trading card game and they were all in the manga as well, we never got to see them in the anime or anywhere beyond that. I sort of get not using the concept outside of Sun and Moon because it's so integral to the story there, but it feels really weird to introduce alien characters and then just not follow up on that. The crumbs that we got most recently were when they added Ultra Beast into Pokemon GO, and were introduced to a member of the GO Ultra Recon Squad named Rai. Then Rai is okay. I guess what I'm saying at the end of the day is that I really love these characters and I'm a big fan of how they were implemented and how they brought something brand new to the Pokemon franchise, but sort of predictably they weren't really followed up on in the future, and even then, just due to circumstances, they are some of the most forgotten characters, because they were introduced in enhanced versions of a previous game that are never played by as many people, and then there's the fact that they were split across different versions of the games. And then finally, to top it off, you only battle one of them who uses one Pokemon each. Again, battles aren't necessary for a character, but they help out. Combined with the fact that they were never adapted into the anime, it just really seemed like everything was working against them. On one hand, they are a really cool idea, but maybe because they're so unique, it just leaves everybody else questioning how exactly to utilize them in a different part of the franchise. What I think should have happened is that rather than doing Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, you make it a single game, like, I don't know, call it Pokemon Stars or something. Then in that, you get to have all four of these characters, very likely playing the same role that they did in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but also please just give them some more Pokemon on their team. They don't need to each have 6 Ultra Beasts, just give them some Pokemon that they met on Alola. Having extra battles in an enhanced version is totally fine, I mean that's kind of the point. And then in the anime, don't be afraid to use them. I know the anime definitely does a lot of different stuff from Sun and Moon, and I know that a lot of people like it, and I'm not sure what the arc looks like when they go into Ultra Space and all that, but I mean put them in at least one episode or something, and then please capitalize on the trading card game with it. We only got one card and it had only Dulse and Zossie. Like, how could you leave out an entire half of the Ultra Recon Squad? Please man, I need Soliera. So let me know what you think in the comments below about the Ultra Recon Squad, what I feel are some of Pokemon's most forgotten characters and underutilized concept. Are you a fan of them, and which of the 4 is your favorite? Also, now that Sun and Moon has opened the floodgates of different worlds and alien people, what would you like to see going forward? If you enjoyed watching, remember to leave a like, subscribe, hype up the video, and all that cool stuff, and I hope you're ready for even more investigations as we continue Alien Week and explore everything else that is out there. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, including the Great Gators, Cemetery Hill, Jammy Jammy, David Shelf, Byron Brown, Saturn B, Meguka, Suffering, Cosmo Zero, Piwas, Mao, Kiko, Kaiser, Noob V, Jellyfish Chic, ITC, Lord Jeff, Hype, Pepperton, Alex with Shiny Hunts, Star Shooter, Koi Koi 13, Cheez It 62, Gator Kid 509, TF, Mathaclock 947, Taishira, and Quago. If you would like to support, see your name here, get access to emotes for comments, live streams, sometimes early videos, and our members-only Discord server, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky as well for more memes. Anyway, this is GatorX, and I will catch you all later.
A new presence has made its way to Alola, bringing a new story with familiar nemesis. Take on Team Rainbow Rocket and take back the Alola region when you help save the light in Pokémon Ultra Sun and Pokémon Ultra Moon. Rated everyone.